Gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about something that sounds contradictory, even confusing. If she loves you, she will ignore you. At first glance, that sounds like emotional manipulation. But dig deeper, and you'll see a psychological truth rooted in vulnerability, feminine nature, and emotional self-protection. When a woman truly starts to love a man, she enters unfamiliar emotional territory. Love for many women isn't just about joy and connection. It also brings with it an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. Suddenly, she's no longer in complete control of her emotions. She starts thinking about you more than she wants to. She worries about what you're doing, who you're with, and how you feel about her. That sense of emotional dependency can feel frightening. It creates a deep fear of being hurt, abandoned, or not loved back in the same way. This fear often doesn't stem from the present moment, but from past pain, heartbreaks, betrayals, or disappointments that have left scars. So, instead of leaning fully into that love, she pulls back. She might become distant, harder to reach, or emotionally closed off. This isn't because she has lost interest. On the contrary, it's usually because her feelings are growing too intense. Ignoring you becomes a form of self-protection. It gives her a moment to retreat, to breathe, to calm down the storm of emotions she's feeling inside. It's a defense mechanism that many women use without even realizing it. By ignoring you, she's attempting to regain control of her inner world. She's telling herself, if I back off, maybe I won't fall too hard. Or if I act indifferent, maybe I won't get hurt. This emotional tug-of-war is a sign of her struggle, not a sign of disinterest. It's often in those moments of silence and distance that her feelings are the strongest. But instead of expressing them, she holds them back, hoping to protect herself from the pain she fears might be coming. She wants to love, but she also wants to feel safe, and until she knows that loving you won't come at the cost of her emotional well-being, she may choose distance over closeness. Ignoring you in that context becomes a quiet act of fear, not rejection. In many cases, when a woman truly starts to care about a man, she becomes intensely aware of the power he holds over her emotions. That realization can be both exciting and terrifying. She begins to notice how much her mood can shift based on his words, his actions, or even his attention. And for a woman who values her emotional independence, or who has experienced hurt in the past, this can feel deeply unsettling. As her feelings grow, so does her instinct to protect herself. One of the ways she does this is by creating distance, not necessarily out of anger or resentment, but as a way to regain emotional control. Ignoring you can become her way of reclaiming power in a dynamic where she feels emotionally exposed. She doesn't want to appear too available, too eager, or too emotionally involved, even if that's exactly how she feels inside. She may start responding slower, pulling back on communication, or acting colder than she truly feels. This is not to manipulate you, but to regain her footing. Love can make her feel like she's losing herself, especially if she hasn't yet seen enough from you to feel secure in your intentions. By withholding attention or appearing indifferent, she's subconsciously trying to shift the emotional balance back in her favor. She knows that in relationships, the one who appears less invested often holds more influence. That isn't always a game. Sometimes it's a shield. When she starts to sense that you have the ability to affect her deeply, to break her or disappoint her, she instinctively reaches for some form of control. Emotional control becomes her anchor, the thing that helps her feel steady again. She tells herself, if I don't reach out first, I can't be rejected. If I keep some distance, I won't lose myself in this. Even if she wants to talk to you or be close, she might resist that urge. The act of ignoring you becomes less about punishing you and more about protecting herself from the vulnerability she's experiencing. And while this may confuse or frustrate you to her, it feels like a way of regaining balance in a situation where her emotions are running deeper than she expected. When a woman distances herself or goes silent, it's often not a random act or a sign that she's lost interest. It can be a deliberate move to see how you react emotionally. Whether consciously or unconsciously, she's watching closely to observe your behavior in her absence. This period of distance becomes a silent test, not just of your patience, but of your emotional maturity. She wants to know who you are when things aren't perfect, when she's not constantly feeding you attention or validation. In her mind, she's asking, can this man handle discomfort? Can he remain steady when I'm not available? Or will he fall apart, get needy, or start chasing in desperation? This kind of test isn't about cruelty, it's about self-protection and discernment. Many women have experienced men who appear confident when everything is going smoothly, but quickly unravel when faced with emotional uncertainty. She may have learned the hard way that some men react with insecurity, anger, or manipulation when they feel emotionally deprived. So she pulls back as a way to observe your foundation. Are you emotionally grounded? Can you stay calm and composed even when you're not being given immediate attention or affection? If you react with panic, if you start bombarding her with messages, demanding explanations, or seeking constant reassurance, it tells her that you lack emotional regulation. It tells her that you rely on her presence to feel stable, and that's a red flag for many you women. On the other hand, if you respect her space, remain composed, and continue to live your life confidently, that tells her something very different. It communicates strength, self-worth, and emotional independence, qualities that are deeply attractive and comforting. Women aren't just looking for a man who can make them feel loved when everything is going right. They're also looking for a man who remains stable when things get a little shaky. Someone who doesn't rush to fix or chase or overcompensate, but who trusts in himself and in the connection. That kind of man gives her a sense of safety, not just physical, but emotional. She starts to feel like she can let down her guard, because she's dealing with someone who won't crumble under emotional pressure. Her silence, then, is not just distance. It's a mirror showing her who you really are when the emotional winds shift. One of the most powerful traits a man can possess is the ability to remain calm and centered when a woman pulls away. When she creates distance, delays her responses, or appears emotionally withdrawn, the instinct for many men is to chase. They feel an urgent need to fix the situation, to close the gap, to get back the closeness they were enjoying. But here's the truth. When a woman truly loves you and starts to ignore you or go silent, she's not always looking for you to pursue her in desperation. More often, she's watching to see if you're the kind of man who values himself enough not to beg for attention. She wants to know if your confidence is rooted in who you are, not in how much validation you're getting from her. Desperation is repelling. It signals that you're willing to sacrifice your self-respect to keep her in your life. And while it might feel like a romantic gesture in the moment, constantly texting, calling, over-apologizing, or seeking reassurance, what it really shows her is that you place her above your own emotional well-being. Women don't want a man who's emotionally dependent on them for his stability. They want a man who is capable of loving deeply but who doesn't fall apart when love feels uncertain or distant. A man who stands firm in his own identity, even when he's not being fed emotional comfort. When you remain calm during her silence, you're sending a powerful message that your world doesn't collapse when she isn't available, that you're not here to prove yourself, to win her over every second, or to cling to her presence out of fear. You're showing her that your life has purpose, direction, and value with or without her constant attention. And paradoxically, this is often when women feel the strongest pull toward you. Why? Because confidence is magnetic. Emotional self-sufficiency is rare. She wants to feel emotionally safe, and that safety is amplified when she senses that you're not easily shaken. When she sees that you're not chasing or pleading, she starts to wonder, why isn't he panicking? Why isn't he trying harder to get me back? That curiosity grows into intrigue, and intrigue grows into attraction. Your restraint becomes proof of your value. It shows her that you're not just another man who falls apart when faced with emotional distance, but someone who respects himself enough to let silence speak, and trusts that if she truly values you, she'll return. In those moments, your calm presence does more than words ever could. It reassures her that you're not driven by insecurity, but by inner strength, and that strength is what makes you stand out from the rest. When a woman begins to ignore you or goes silent, it's easy to assume she's pulling away permanently or losing interest. But in many cases, what she's really doing is observing you from a distance. This isn't about ghosting or abandoning you. It's about creating space so she can see things more clearly without the noise of constant interaction. During this period, she's not emotionally disconnected. In fact, she may be feeling everything more intensely than ever. But rather than confronting those feelings directly, she retreats inward, watching how you behave without her constant presence. This is a crucial phase in many relationships where a woman seeks clarity. She wants to understand who you are when she's not actively engaging with you. She's asking herself, is he consistent? Is he authentic? Does his behavior change when he doesn't have my attention? This is often where men make critical mistakes. They become anxious, they overthink, they start trying too hard. They begin to send multiple messages, seek validation, or dramatically shift their behavior to win her back. But what they don't realize is that she's taking note of all of it. She's watching not only what you do, but how you carry yourself. Are you still living your life with purpose? Are you still focused on your goals, your passions, your responsibilities? Or have you started orbiting around her, making her the center of your emotional world? What a woman truly wants to see during this time is stability, not performance, not grand gestures, but quiet, calm consistency. She wants to see if your words and actions align when she's not there to influence them directly. She's not just observing your interest, she's observing your emotional discipline. Can you respect her space? Can you stay grounded in who you are even when you're uncertain about how she feels? These questions are what shape her next steps. If she sees you spiraling into insecurity or acting out of character, it reinforces the idea that your sense of self is too dependent on her. That kind of dependency doesn't make her feel special. It makes her feel responsible for your emotional state, and that becomes a burden. But if she observes you staying true to yourself, keeping your routine, staying composed, remaining kind but not desperate, she starts to feel something very different. She starts to see you as someone who doesn't need her, but chooses her. And that distinction is powerful. It means your love isn't coming from a place of lack or fear, but from a place of strength. That's the kind of love that feels safe to return to. That's the kind of man she can trust, not just when things are good, but when things feel uncertain. So while it may seem like she's gone quiet, she's actually paying closer attention than ever, not to your words, but to your essence, not to your efforts to win her back, but to your ability to remain steady even when you're unsure. And the man who can hold that energy, not forceful, not reactive, but rooted, often becomes the man she realizes she doesn't want to walk away from. Love is often portrayed as loud, full of declarations, constant communication, and obvious affection. We're taught to believe that if someone truly cares about you, they'll show it in grand, unmistakable ways. But in reality, especially for many women, love doesn't always look like that. Sometimes love is quiet. It's hidden beneath layers of fear, past wounds, or emotional caution. When a woman genuinely loves you, her feelings may run so deep that expressing them becomes difficult. She may be overwhelmed by the intensity of what she feels, unsure of how to show it without losing herself. So instead of pouring her heart out, she becomes reserved. She withdraws. And in that silence, in that emotional restraint, love can still be very much alive, just not in the way most men expect. It's a common mistake to assume that silence equals indifference. But for some women, especially those who have been hurt before or have learned to guard their hearts, silence is a coping mechanism. It's a way to feel in control of something that feels out of control. She might not tell you how much she thinks about you. She might not show how deeply she's affected by your words, your presence, or even your absence, but that doesn't mean she's emotionally detached. Often, it means the exact opposite. She's feeling so much that she doesn't trust herself to reveal it all. This kind of love doesn't announce itself. It lingers in her thoughts, in her moments of hesitation, in the way she checks your profile but doesn't text, in the way she replays your conversations in her head but stays quiet in real life. You might not see the fireworks, but what's happening inside her is a slow, steady burn. It's a love that's being processed internally, because externalizing it feels too risky, too vulnerable. She might be afraid of being misunderstood, of being too much, or of not being enough. So instead, she pulls back, not because she wants to hurt you, but because she's protecting the most delicate part of herself. This can be confusing for a man, especially one who equates affection with action. He may begin to question her feelings, wonder if she's losing interest, or assume she's playing games. But not all women express love in obvious ways. Some show it by giving space. Some show it by observing from afar. Some show it by holding back until they feel truly safe. And the man who understands this subtle language of love, who doesn't rush her, pressure her, or punish her for her silence, is the man she will feel most connected to in the long run, because he sees what others don't. He recognizes that true love isn't always loud, and that sometimes the deepest feelings live in the quietest corners of the heart. So if you find yourself confused by her silence, don't always take it as a rejection. Take it as a moment to reflect, to remain grounded, and to lead with quiet strength. Real love isn't always obvious, and the women who feel the deepest often say the least. Your job isn't to chase noise, to understand the silence. Because if she truly loves you, her heart may not be loud, but it's still beating for you. And the man who can stay steady in her silence is the man she'll eventually trust with her entire soul.